Hello, welcome. This is kind of a sharing. I made this mechanical waterfall, and the position that I put it in, which was behind the main flaps, this was just way too much bulk. I had done one on both sides, and I just was not happy with it at all. And thankfully, I glued or taped these down, so I used some undo. I've lifted them off, and then I've got to fix these 2 pages. I will try to use these maybe on another signature, but one at a time. It was my first time making a mechanical waterfall, and I honestly did not know what to expect, and I'm disappointed at my results. So I'm going to show you what I've done so that if you're not liking it as well, which I can't imagine you would, you'll know how I fixed it. So in the first part of the video, I had glued this down, which I tremendously regret right now. But thankfully, I taped the waterfalls down. So now when this closes, I'm leaving this as my closure. It lays down so much better. I don't have this big poofy going on. But I had to mount my magnet to the inside of this page because this got glued down. Had I taped this down, I would have been able to have lifted this and slid this magnet in. But as a result, this is what I'm doing. I need to cover it. And I need to cover it so that it doesn't interfere with the front. So luckily, this magnet is not going through all of these layers. It is simply going through these 2 layers. So I made some photo mats. These photo mats are going to measure at 7 1/4 inches across by 5 inches. And you're going to score it at 3 5/8. I'm closing with some magnets. I went into my scraps and I found a scrap piece that I wanted to use. And then I've cut 2 inside filler pieces that you can put your photos on. Now on the outside of this, to kind of break this up just a little bit, I'm putting in one of the kitty cat ephemeras. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to actually tape this down so that if I have an issue, I can again get it lifted off fairly easily. So let's get going on this. I'm very saddened by this, to be honest with you. But as I've promised in so many of my videos, I'm not going to go in and do a fix and cut it out simply because you have the right to know, if you were to do this, how to get around it. And I know a lot of us glue, so I'm posting this video ahead of the main video so that you do not build the waterfall that I put in. You're going to build these 2 pockets. But in that video, before you put down this pattern paper, you are going to set your magnet, because I'm not changing how this closes. So before you put this down, you'll set your magnet, then lay this paper down, so then when you make this arm band here, that it's going to connect. All right? So I'm going to literally cover this thing up. Get my tape out here. And I'm just going to run 3 strips, 1 on each end, and then 1 down the middle. It doesn't need to be any more than that. So let's get this And I'm going to have this one open this way. I need to add a little bit more glue in there. I'm going to have it open to the left. And then the other one will open to the right. We'll be doing the same thing. Okay. And then I'm going to take the kitty, glue it on, put just a tad bit of glue on these little fragile elements. Set him down here, tap him in. Okay, so that's now done, except I do want to add some bling. I think I'm going to use purple because it will pull the purple out of this. So if this is 5, 2.5 is my center. So I'm going to put my glue right there for my purple bling. And then I will finish off and I will probably have to patch in a few on this. Looks like 2. I do keep my little spares. Let's cut the tails off the end of this thing. Well, God, I can't see it. The black against the black. My eyeballs are not doing it. Okay, so that side is now done. And I feel a lot better about that. So now let's go over here. And we're going to do the same thing, but this time it's going to open out. So again, I went to my scraps. I identified some pieces that would work. I'm running out of large scraps. Now, normally this would sit this way, but running out of scraps, so I'm going to change the angle. Again, magnet closures on the inside of this. Scared myself. Now, down here, I'm going to take one of the ephemera pieces, that's a broom, and I'm going to put it right there. And then I'm going to layer on top of it the little witch with her kitty cat. And these have got some really fragile pieces that I need to make sure I get just a touch of glue on them. Just set that off at a little bit of an angle. And on this kitty cat, there's a whisker right there. Incredibly small piece. Okay, there we go. All right, we'll get some tape on this. Now, like I said, I'm going to post this video first and then you'll go into the bigger build. You will be able to come back to this by rewinding so that when you get to the spot that has the waterfall being constructed and added in, go back to the beginning of this video and you'll have this build instead of the waterfall build. Now, if you want to then watch the waterfall build or do the waterfall build and save it for later, that's up to you. Or you can just kind of skip through it. Like I said, I'm kind of sad that it didn't work out. It was my first attempt. I'm not a happy camper. I hate doing this. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now this close. Hello, welcome back. We are moving on to our next signature, but I want to make note of a couple of things before we do. I'm going to go back to the previous signature. I took this off, and I took this off, and I highlighted the peak of the building, which I am much more satisfied with on the visual part of this. So that's what I did. I'm glad I did this in tape so that I could remove it. But this was my final decision. All right, so in here, on this flap, I put in a small photo, frame. And it was this one, my dirty fingers. It was this square one that I use. It's got the bookshelves, you know, they're down here reading their books, and we've got the two little witches leaning over a table. So that's the one I used. This is closing by some small basic gray magnets, and it is glued in place. So that was a change that I made, an addition that I made, and I don't think I did anything else with that. All right, so now this particular signature, I am going to be attempting to do something I have never done before, and that's a pull tab waterfall. So I am going to ask that you please watch the video. So if I make mistakes, I'm going to correct it, and that way you know right away what to do. I'm very nervous about this because it took me quite a while just to get a prototype completed so that my brain understood what was going on. So let's get started with this right away. This is the piece I selected for the background. This is the reverse side. Now I did put one of the ephemera here in the bottom just to kind of help break this up. This is going to measure at 8 1/4 inches across, and it's going to measure by 8 1/2 inches in the height. I'm going to make a tuck that's going to go here on the left-hand side. I've got some things here that I need to move around. And this was the piece of scrap that I chose to use. It has a lot going on, so it helps to break up the blank of this. Now, this still leaves you plenty of room to put in some fixed photos, as well as it will give you a tuck. Now, this little pocket measures at 1 3/4 inch across by your 8 1/2 inches in height, and I made this to fit this. That's why it's 1 3/4 inch. So let's go ahead and let's get this put in. Something on the end of my picker. Yeah, this is very new to me, so I'm to be honest with you, I'm a bit nervous. So we'll get this in and we'll see how it works out. All right, let's get some glue for this piece here. Wow, that's pretty. I kind of like that side. That's the reverse side. You know, I should get used to turning these things over. But let's see how this works. I am playing with some of the ephemera. This I think will work just fine. I'm using the apothecary bottle, and then this is another one. It's a round one. And then I'm putting a little kitty cat. So this will work great because I can actually stage this so it looks like it's on that shelf and then the cat's down here on this shelf. So I am going to use this side. This thing is just lovely and it really helps to brighten up this page. Now, if you still want to use this side, you go right ahead. Okay. So this little apothecary dabs. Oh, I got a splatter glue. And I'm going to set it here on this shelf. And then this one, we'll just stagger just underneath of it and overlap it a little bit. And then I will put this kitty cat on this bottom shelf right here, just in front of that small bottle. Okay, now I went ahead and placed this where I needed it to be, but I'm going to be snipping out the black bling that's underneath of it because I don't want it stacked up. It's just not going to stick very well. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to line it up, and I can see where I want it. So now I'm just going to put this right here. But what I want to do is put just a little bit of glue under this. All right, now I will go here to here and snip. And then I will go, whoops, wrong side. I will go from here to here and snip. Okay, so now I'm completely done. Ta-da! All right, now let's put our flaps on. Okay, starting with the right side, we're going to have one that measures in at 6 inches by 8.5 inches. This one will have a 1/2 inch score. We want to make sure that we can snuggle right up to that score line. And then on this same side, let me score this a little bit. We're going to put in another flap that is going to measure 5 3/4 inches across by 8.5 inches in the height. We will then have a 1/2 inch score and a 5/8 inch score. And this is where I'm hoping it's going to work. I'm beginning to get concerned that maybe I needed to go to a 3/4 inch score mark. Now I've already cut my pieces because I made several of these in advance, so I will deal with it if I find that this was not sufficient. But if it isn't, then I'm going to have you score at a half and at 3/4. So now we want to make sure that that hinge that we're developing is on the top of the signature, not on the side. So we're going to bring our work right up to that 1/2 inch score line. And then I'm going to press back because I want that hinge to really stand up and stand out so that it's nice and flat here on the edge. All right, so let's go put our left side flaps in. This is going to measure in at 6 1/4 inches across. Oh, I've got them in the wrong order. Hold on here. 6 inches across by 8 1/2 inches, and then you're going to have a 1/2 inch score. So we're going to repeat that process by bringing this right up to that score line. I've not made a waterfall this way before, so I do not know how it's all going to turn out. And if I don't like how it's turning out, I will just dump it and do something else. All right, so now this one's going to come in at 6 1/4 inches across by 8 1/2 inches in the height. And this, we're going to have a 1/2 inch score and a 5/8 of an inch score. So once again, we're going to make sure that we're going to have that hinge that we're creating on the top. So we're going to snug right up to the 1/2 inch score line. And then we're going to push back. I'm using really heavy paper, so I need to push back. All right, so that's how these are going to sit. Now, I need to set magnets, but they're buried. I'm going to wait until we get this part done, at least. Okay, so let's open it back up. And we are going to start off with this paper. We are going to cut and to fit. Am I doing that the right side? Yes. We're going to cut to fit on both sides. I see a pencil mark, and I don't believe I inked these, so if you will bear with me, I can see the white edge, and it just... Okay, let's get over here and let's ink this one. All right, we're going to glue these in. There's no magnets at this point. I'm going to go ahead and glue this one in so we have this piece out of the way. All right, so on these two flaps, we're going to make some tucks here in the middle so that you can put in a photo and just tuck it in, but not commit it unless you want to. And then I'm using the reverse side of this as my pattern piece for here. And then out of the ephemera, I grabbed the stack of books, and we're going to put that right there. So these are 8.5, oops, get up here, 8.5. I want to be at 4. Well, I'm doing that completely upside down. 4 1/8, I want to be right there. 4 1/8, I want to be right there. I just don't want these laying in here crooked. Okay, so this piece is going to be 1.5 inches by not quite 5.5. So I'm in between that 5 3/8 and 5.5. Make sure that you mount here and then go out to the edge, because if you need to trim it, you can trim it easier on this edge. Better yet, for you, measure just inside that score line out to the edge, and that's how long you should be trimming your papers. So I made my tick mark, and I'm going to line right up to the edge of the paper, and I'm going to make sure I'm coming across to the center. Now I do have just a fraction to trim off here, which will probably drop it down now to 5 3/8, because if remember I said it was right smack in the middle. All right, let's see how this is going to fit. I need to trim a little bit off the height on this. Not much, just a little bit. Okay, that's better. Now this is going to sit in here just perfect, so I can go ahead and glue the entire back on this. It does have a very fragile piece, which is right here. So make sure that you get some glue on that and that you get that tacked down so that you don't tear it, and be very careful burnishing over it. Okay, so that piece is now done. So as you can see, we have a nice tuck both on the top and on the bottom. And again, this will be great if you're going to use this as an annual album that you want to maybe take some new pictures and recycle for the following year. Okay, so on this side, it's still 1.5 inches by 5 3/8. And I'm going to make my tick marks at 4 1/8. Where'd my pencil go? 4 1/8. And at 4 1/8. It's hard to see the pencil mark on the black on this because they kind of blend. And again, I'm going to start here just in front of that score mark. And did I cut that one? It's just a little off, not by much, but we are going to come in here and we're going to trim this off. There we go. Now let's just verify our measurement. Very good. Now I did not have another piece that I felt would work for this piece here, so this is a different scrap cutting. And now I'm using this little collage of candles. Let's just verify. So this top candle wick is going to stick up. I would much rather, I think I'm going to drop the base of these candles down. This is going to hang over here, but I would rather have that than have this totally up there where moving pictures in and out could create an issue. But we also know that we can't put glue on that. Or on this bottom piece because it's going to hang over. So the only wicks that I glued down were these two right here, and I did not glue down under here. And that left this one here without any glue on it as well. So that completes this. And now we're going to decorate these pages. I know what I forgot to cut and trim on that. Huh. I have these two pieces here, but I don't remember where they go now. I will come back and I will be putting some black bling on this, on both of these. But I don't think that these were it. No, because they're coming up way too short. It might go someplace else. So, like I said, I made several of these ahead of time, so it's... All right, on this side, we're now going to use this piece. And it's the little ghosts in what looks like to be a library. So what I'm doing to change this, and I put this down prematurely, but I cut out this frame, I glued across the top and along this side so that you can treat this as a tuck, because you really can't or would want to put a permanent photo on here. So we're going to just put a tuck, and it will also help to take up some of that pink space up at the top of it. All right, let's get it glued down. Now you have a nice tuck. Now we're going to add this side in, and this was the piece that I cut out, and I am taping here and here so that your tuck can come up this way. I did not ink any of this. Oh, and I also wanted to share something else with you, so I think I'm going to digress here for just a second. I got these Prima flowers. I loved them when I saw them. My heart just kind of did a... But I'm disappointed, and I will show you why. I did not anticipate this. So I want to use these, but they have to be used somewhere on the outer flaps because these have a very raised center. That's almost 1/4 of an inch. It is that they've put this gem piece in there and it's 1/4 of an inch higher, so I can't use it internally. And then this thing is, not only is it 1/4 inch higher, but it's almost 3/8 of an inch wide. Very disappointed. This thing is what caught my attention the most, and I love it, but on the back of all of these, and I get it, it's the construction, you've got this bump, this bubble of where they're pulling all this stuff together. So the only way I'm going to be able to use this is I'm going to have to come in here with my scissors, and I'm going to have to really cut and trim some of this so that I can flatten this out. So I do have these. I want to use them, but I'm going to have to be very careful about where I insert them. See, they would be, to me, they would be perfect here. Just brighten that up, make it look lively, but I would have to make very big gussets here in order to accommodate these, and I'm just not going to do that. It will just make this way too big when it's not necessary. All right, I'm going to take this smaller frame and we're going to put it, whoops, let's straighten it out. Right there. Okay. So then that helps to take up that space. It gives you a tuck, and then we have this one here. And it really isn't going to matter which one goes over, but I kind of like this because you've got that cascading. So anyway, all right, now we're going to get to where my heart's kind of doing the jumpy jump. And I need to put in, I've got to figure out which way this is turning, left over right. Okay, so left over right, we need to set our magnet here. But I am now concerned because the waterfall I'm putting here, is this going to interfere if I put a magnet here? So do I need to come in here with an exterior band to close this? We'll see. Again, I ask that you please watch. All right, this is the piece I'm using. The reverse side has the pumpkin, and I'm using a darker color because it's going to, for the most part, be covered up. And, oh, God, I don't know what to do. Okay, so it's right over left. So I should be able to glue this one down. I'm still trying to anticipate magnets. And I know somebody out there is going, well, how come you didn't take that in consideration when you made it? Well, let me share with you that, like I said, this was new. And a lot of the nuances when you're creating a signature, and if you are a longtime crafter, you know that you can't anticipate every single thing. All right, so if I'm going to put a magnet, I can't put this piece down because it would need to be here to come over here. So I am going to pretend and put this on and see what happens. So this piece is going to come over here. So bear with me. And then I'm going to have, oh, I made a prototype, so I can use this. So then this is going to come here. So I would need to really pull this to the left and set the magnet here, but it's not going to work because as these fill up with photos, this is going to expand and the magnet's not going to make contact. So we're going to go ahead and put this together, but then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a band that's going to come to the outside from back here across, and we'll cover it up that way. Now, I could edit a lot of this and not share, but I know someone out there's going to go, oh, I'm so glad she didn't. I just want you to know what it takes for me. It's not the case with every crafter. They might be more experienced than myself. But this is what the process it takes for me to put things together. All right, so now we're going to build this, and we're going to, this is where I get really nervous. I'm really hoping that this thing turns out. So this was going to go there. I don't know. I don't know how much of this I have to cover because, like I said, I've never really built one before. All right, so we're going to have a base. You need to make 2 of these. I'm going to cap off my glue because I think this is going to take just a little bit for me to explain. See, it's starting to dry up already. There we go. All right. You are going to need to make cut 2 pieces that are 4 by 6.5 inches. That's what's going to go down here. 4 by 6.5. And then you're going to cut a piece that is going to measure 11.5 inches in the length by 3 inches in the width. So 11.5 by 3 is going to be the piece that's going to sit on top of this one. That 11.5 inch piece, you are going to lay it on your scoreboard along the length, and then you're going to start scoring at 6 inches, 6.5 inches, 7, 7.5, 8, and 8.5. So that when you get it done, that's what we're going to attach these panels to. Now you will also need to make a 1 inch, so if this was 4, 5, 6, 1 inch by 6, you need to make 2 of these because that's what's going to wrap around. And we're not going to score this because I don't want this up tight. You're just going to fold it over and either tape or glue it down because we need for this to move freely. You will cut then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3 by 3 panels. You will have the 6th panel will automatically be built in on this square. So let's get in here and I can show you. All right, so I can start showing you what I'm doing. All right, so this is my piece. So it's 11.5, 6 inches, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, and then what's left over, oh, I think I gave you the wrong size, is 3.5 by 3.5. So I made it bigger. Where's my, so these are actually 3.5 by 3.5. So you will cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I ended up cutting 6, but I don't think I need it because this is the 6th one right here. I'm so bloomin' nervous. All right, and then we're going to come in here and you're gonna run glue. Now, if you've made these before, just have at it, but if you haven't, then I'm gonna explain to you how I did it. Then you're going to glue just right here, just one line of glue under that score line, and then you're going to repeat, and then you're going to come to this last one and you're going to put glue right here on the very edge. And that's where you're going to attach all of your panels to, so that when you're done, it will look like this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I do want to cover this because I don't want all that black showing. So I could do it this way, so there's a little bit of color behind there. I'm not sure how much of this is going to show up once this panel gets on here, but we'll see. Like I said, I've not done this before. So first thing I'm going to do is cover this. And I don't know if I'm doing this in the right path, the right pattern. Okay, now I'm going to take this, it's 1 inch by 6, and I'm going to come up a 1/2 inch off the bottom. I want to be a 1/2 inch. So I am going to make a pencil mark at the 1/2 inch. And I don't care if I can erase the pencil mark later if it becomes an issue. Okay, so line that up, pinch that over. We're going to pinch that over, and now I'm going to hold it down in the center. And I'm going to glue these. Sorry if I'm a bit off camera down here. Okay. And then I cut a strip that will cover this, and I cut a strip that would hopefully blend in with this. And this is just cut to fit. Okay, so that one's done. Now, this. I want to make sure that these are all the same height, that they're all square to this. Okay. All right, here we go. Do not cover the score line. I'm so nervous about this. I wanted to try something new that was more interactive. Oops. Goodness sakes, Charlie, quit getting so aggressive. Goofy girl. Okay, so now if my pull tab is here on this one, and you push, and you come down, okay, and then this is going to tuck under here, and I need to put a little pull right here. And I did not do this part yet because I just didn't know how I'm going to go about this. All right, so I'm going to cut this maybe let's start with 1/2 inch. I don't think it needs to be, well, I'm going to go with 3/4 of an inch. I don't want it to be huge in your face. But I do want you to be able to pull on that, reach in there and get that. So I want that to be about that long. Okay, that should have gone down before this paper. Before this and before this, so that this was up underneath of there. Because now as it is, I'm going to have to, well, maybe not. Okay. See, I'm just, maybe I have it wrong. Okay, let's go with maybe 1/2 inch. Put it roughly in the center. Just a little bit of a grab. Maybe I'm okay. So then this is going to go under here. I think I've got it the right way now. Okay, I was thinking wrong. Nah. And then we're going to glue this panel, this very bottom panel, we're going to glue it to this band. Is that right? I'm going to tape it because if it doesn't work, I don't want it. Okay, it's this one here. I'm going to put a 1/8 of an inch tape so I don't have to remove a whole bunch of it. And I know there are many of you out there right now going, you don't know what you're doing, which is entirely correct. Okay, so we're going to slip this in here. I want this to come to the bottom. No, it's going to be about 1/2 inch up. We're going to center this. Tape this bottom one down. Ta-da! I'll cover that with paper so that doesn't happen. All right, so the only thing is I didn't make this tall enough. See how this hangs up over here? It should be even. Now I can take this off and drop this down so that the top is even, which is probably for now going to be the best thing to do. All right. So now I want to put this behind here, and I want to drop this bottom piece about an 8. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is even now with the top. So then we've got our pole, that works. We'll decorate this. I am going to come in here. I should have done that before I put that on, but we're going to come in here and glue this down. Okay. Now cut your panel pieces. I cut alternating visuals. I think I'm going to swap these two out. And then we're going to glue them on, and then we're going to attach this in here. And I'm really sorry that this video is taking longer because we've also got to build the next one. So it's going to be absolutely identical. So if you want to stop your video and build the two sides, and then you can come back and speed past this step. Let me see how much time, where am I at? I want 45 minutes. Okay, there's a problem. And I think when I get this one built, I am going to stop the video, and then I will, well, we still got the fronts to do. It's going to be a long video, folks. I'm sorry. Probably wouldn't be so long if I knew what it was I was doing. And then this last piece. Okay. Let's get this mounted. I am going to put it on in some tape because I want the tape to hold the weight of this. Put it in the middle. I'll worry about decorating the little tab later, and then I can come back to you on the next video and show you what it was I did, because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to cover it. Okay. Like I said, this is very, very new to me. I'm just coming off the top by about 1/4 of an inch. Probably could have done this a different way. I'm trying to speed things up here, folks. All right, so there's that. My first one, yay, done. Now let's hurry up and let's get this next one built. Okay, so I pretty much have it laid out. So let's get this on. Now, I'm trying to find trims that will go across the back of this, and so I left the border that you would typically cut off. It'll just look like there's things peeking out from the underside or the back side. And then put this in here. And I'm going to go ahead and attach this to this. And then I'm going to come up about a 1/2 inch. Whoops, get back up there. Okay, so now I'm going to attach this. Oh, isn't that pretty? Because now I know it needs to go down before I put the whole thing together. And then we'll take our panel pieces. Goes a lot quicker when you know what you're doing. I had to do a lot of YouTube searching to find this because everybody calls it different. It's a cascading waterfall. It was a pull tab waterfall. What was some of the other things I found? There was not a consistency in what people were calling this. So it took me a bit, and then everyone has a different style, and I'll be honest, I was a bit confused. My brain just works differently. That lined up really nice. Now I need to, oh shoot, I was supposed to put my pull tab underneath there. 3/4 of an inch, is that what I did? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna, oh, I forgot this step. Let me just break this open a little bit. I'm gonna come in here with some fresh glue, and then I'm gonna sneak this in here as far as it will let me go. And then I will cut this at what looks like to be 3/4 of an inch. All right, so that's now on. And then we can put, where are they? Here we go. I am really trying to move along fast here because I know I've spent a lot of time on this particular signature. My deep, sincere apologies. And the last one. So when you're cutting these squares, if you're covering these, you just use whatever scraps, you know, and then the pattern that pleases your eye. I think I can get this all on here. Uh-oh, I put tape on the wrong one. I am such a dingbat. I am just moving along way too fast and I'm not thinking. I'm thinking I'm done. I'm going to try and salvage this tape because it's a lot of tape to toss. Now I feel comfortable gluing the underside of this. Because now I know I need to be flush with this. This will line up. And please pray tell me I did this the right way. Yay! Oops, well, make sure that you don't play with the mechanism until it's done drying. Dum. Okay, now is this glued down? That's glued down. Let's get this put down so that we can move on with finishing the outside. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the outside, but I will make the closing mechanism off camera, and then on the next video I will show you how I closed it. So we're not going to close it right now, okay? All right, so the outside you are going to use, and I will tell you now that when you make these panels, if you haven't done it already, cut this at 1/4 of an inch. Or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. You want a 1/2 inch and a 3/4 inch score. You want a 1/4 inch gusset here, not an 1/8, because of the bulk that this created. So my apologies to those of you who, if you glued down your panels and you have a product like Goo Gone or Undo that will remove the panel from the base of the signature, remove that, save those panels because we'll use them later, I'm quite sure, but then recut so that you have a 1/4 inch gusset hanging here. I am going to just have to deal with mine being the way that it is because I've already built it. I have way too much on there to try and take off. So this again is a good reason why I'm going to do a belly band closure on this. Close this up, and then we're going to glue this down. And like I said, I will finish this and give you the instructions on finishing it and then putting it in the album on our next video. Okay? You have in some of the the wide trims that come in off the top. You can take this trim piece, I want to use it. I'm not certain where I'm going to put it, but I am going to put it here on this, and I think I'm going to cut this down just a little bit, ink it up. I'm going to mat it onto some black cardstock so that it will sit up. I think I'm going to put it probably right here where it says Witch. I'll put it right here, so it kind of replaces that. All right, so I'm going to stop the video. I will come back with this completely finished because we are right at 1 hour. I'll see you on the next one for the finish. Bye-bye.